What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to tonight's Anfield Agenda special. I'm joined by Corey from the West Ham Way to have a little look ahead to the Reds game against the Hammers at the weekend. Corey, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the internet now, as you can see, and cameras go in and out. Internet connections are a bit iffy, but bear with us. We'll get through this one. I'm good, mate. I'm probably more nervous about this weekend's game than I would normally be when we take on West Ham, if I'm being honest with you. We'll go through it in more detail, but you must be feeling pretty good about life right now.
Yeah, mate. It's a bit of a turn of events, to be fair. Like when the transfer window come round and we hadn't signed anybody, I was sort of doing my head and thinking, oh, this is going to be a terrible season. And we go into Newcastle, really, really poor performance. But ever since the Arsenal game, changing system, we're so much more competitive. And even against City, I think that was our first point against Guardiola since he's come in. So, I mean, as a team, we're progressing massively. I'm feeling sort of cautiously optimistic about this Liverpool game. Not normally, I'm expecting a 4-0 Liverpool, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer than I would have expected a few months ago.
Yeah, well, look, you can see the obvious problems that we have at the minute. A lot of injuries, and we'll go through them. You've got some yourself. We were talking just before we came on air about it's still up in the air whether Antonio's actually going to be fit and available to play. What's your take on the latest on that one?
I mean, when he first got injured, obviously against City, and he went off, it changed our game completely. In terms of our attacking threat, we've got no one to hold the ball up, no one to run in behind. Really, our front three, particularly Bowen and you've got Fornals on the left, they all work together. You take that out of West Ham, all of a sudden we do become a defensive side. And we've obviously got Sebastian Haller on the bench, a £45 million striker. It just hasn't really worked for him. He's not the same player at all as Antonio. You've got to work to his strengths, whereas Antonio works to the team strengths. So it's kind of tearing my hair out a little bit, but it does look like he could be fit for Saturday, even if he comes off the bench. So we're going to need that against Liverpool, because I do feel that he can stretch your defence quite a bit.
Yeah, we'll get into that again. I'm almost nervous already at the thoughts of Antonio coming on. I won't lie, I do rate him as a player and as a person, but I can't get you on without talking about that comeback against Spurs, because everybody obviously outside of Spurs were looking at that game, and if ever there was a goal, man, to get back into a 3-3, that was it.
Honestly, I couldn't really believe it. And it's the most typical West Ham and Tottenham game you'll ever see. Typical Tottenham to kind of bottle it 3-0 up. Typical West Ham to kind of pull something out of nothing. And we were terrible. And that's the thing. Moyes set up completely wrong. He tried to press Mourinho. He had Heung-min Son in behind. Harry Kane playing like 50-yard balls in. And we were just struggling. And all of a sudden, out of nothing, we had a header from a set piece, an own goal. And that Lanzini goal I must have watched about 150 times, because he just won't hit a better goal in a game like that. And that's just, honestly, mate, even now, it's goosebumps.
I had everything. I had keeper just about getting a finger to it, touching off the underneath of the bar. I think it even went through somebody's legs, I think, from the strike. And you had Moisey then giving it the big one on the sideline. And I'm not going to lie, man, I love managers celebrating like that, because if you can't, what's the point?
Yeah, the thing is with that goal, if you ever watch it on the sort of replay, you've got Angelo Ogbonna literally comes across Harry Winks and just shoves him out of the way. So everything about that goal, everything had to set up perfectly. Him to take Winks out, the ball just to rise above every Spurs defender, and then I think Lloris even got a hand to it. So I mean, honestly, Manu couldn't have hit a better strike.
Hopefully we see none of that at Anfield coming up on Saturday. And look, we'll start off looking at our side, I suppose. And as you know, we've got defensive issues right now. The world's best defender, I think I'm all right to call him the world's best defender, is out for the foreseeable, thanks to Jordan Pickford. We also obviously picked up an injury to Fabinho. Joe Matip won't be back available for this game. So it boils down to a couple of things, really. Will Thiago make the game, which I hope that he will? And who'll play at centre-back alongside Joe Gomez? And we were talking about this again before we started, and you were a little bit surprised when I mentioned that we could see Jordan Henderson, maybe Reece Williams, but we could see Hendo there.
Yeah, even when I looked at that Liverpool backline, and I do think there are weaknesses, particularly if Trent moves forward, and Trent's been exposed a few times this season, 9 times out of 10 it's quite solid. You brought Alisson back in for Adrian, who me as a West Ham fan knows he's got a mistake in him.
Has he?
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that, mate. No, never seen any of them.
But the thing is, mate, it gets to that level and it's exposed so much more. For us, it was kind of sort of under the radar. But yeah, no, I mean, even with Fabinho, I think as a sort of holding midfielder, there were elements of his games that we could have got behind. But I am surprised to hear Jordan Henderson. I can see it from a distribution point of view, because I think his passing is unbelievable at points. But it's there to be got at. That Liverpool defence is there to be got at from the West Ham front three.
Yeah, you've got Lanzini, of course, playing his way back into a little bit of form as well. And I was listening to David Moyes talking about Lanzini after that Spurs game, and he said he's somebody who he really likes, because I think I'd asked you before when we were on the All Leeds TV show what was the story there, and he looks like he may be playing his way back into the manager's thoughts.
Possibly. I mean, look, we've got a lot of options. I think Said Benrahma's going to be on the bench this Saturday, which is a huge boost for us. I wanted him against Manchester City because I think you add him with 20, 30 minutes to go, he can create something out of nothing. It's definitely going to be one of them games against Liverpool where we're going to be under the cosh for a long period of time. So if you can bring on someone like Lanzini or Benrahma just to change things and be a little bit more creative, then obviously it gives us a chance. I am a bit sceptical because I know the pressure that Liverpool are going to put us under is going to be horrendous at times.
Yeah, I mean, if I could do a rough guess at our starting 11, I'd be thinking Alisson, Trent, let's say Reece Williams, Gomez, Robbo, midfield then trio. I'd be hoping for something like Jordan Henderson, Thiago, and then it's a matter of who plays in the attacking midfield role. I mean, I don't know if you've seen recently, but we've started dropping Bobby Firmino into an attacking midfield role and pushing Diogo Jota a little bit further forward. Now, that experiment hasn't been great so far, but you spoke about you think you can get at our defence. Well, I would always say to you, look, our forwards are, I think, adding Diogo Jota to that, it just gives us an unbelievable amount of pressure that we can apply to teams and a different way of breaking teams down. So it's going to be an interesting game. And how are you feeling about playing Liverpool at this time? You said to me beforehand that you think it might be the right time and we can be got at.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, defensively, I think there are weaknesses there, not natural ones. I think against the Aston Villa result was a bit of a fluke result. I think obviously it was kind of one of the off days. And that high line, you'd look at it and think, I think West Ham can expose it. And yeah, Liverpool are going to put us under a lot of pressure, but West Ham are built for a low block. We play a 5-4-1 in defence. We're able to soak up pressure. And from what I've seen this season, we are one of the better teams in terms of that transition between defence and attack. You've got Souček just bombs on, Declan Rice is passing, Antonio if he's fit. I think there are perfect opportunities for West Ham to create chances. My biggest concern, and I'm going to cover it in my preview, is Bobby Firmino, because like you say, he's moving into that 10 role a little bit more. And sometimes our midfield can get overpowered. Against Spurs, when they think they pushed Ndombele up, Kane as a 10, like Rice and Souček were really struggling that first half. If all of a sudden you've got Firmino moving in and out of positions and trying to move that kind of double pivot, all of a sudden it becomes so much more difficult. So there are areas, it's kind of, if West Ham can be brave enough to try and take on Liverpool very much the same way that Villa did, I think we can create chances. But you've got to be willing to take that chance and sort of concede a bit of ground in order to do that.
On Bobby Firmino, it's interesting to actually get an opposition fan's point of view on this, because there's a bit of a debate between me and our own subscribers, because I'm now what I suppose would be called a Bobby Firmino apologist at this point, because he's my favourite player at the club. And how do you think he should be viewed from the outside as a goal scorer, or do you think that he's almost at 9.5 a little bit different? How do opposition fans like yourself view Firmino?
I've got to be honest, it was completely different before I did my homework on Liverpool before the preview. I thought he was massively overrated. I didn't really understand why Liverpool fans rated him so highly or what he actually did. You see him in front of goal. It might have even been against Sheffield United. He missed a little bit of a sitter. And I remember when he first came into Liverpool, he did score quite a few goals. So obviously you thought he was sort of a downward turn in form. But I think Klopp's been really clever with him. And he's that guy that I'm looking at against West Ham when we're frustrating you. He just comes into little positions. I think he did it against Chelsea where he played a 1-2 with Salah, ball into the box for Mane, just to unlock things. And that's what Firmino does. He just draws people out of position and attracts people to him. And I can appreciate him as a player. There are players like that. There's so many players in the league that are underappreciated. Henderson's one. Declan Rice for us is another one. You have to watch them to understand. And I do kind of get the Firmino bandwagon. I do see why he's rated by Liverpool fans.
And one other player who's come in for us that's obviously going to be putting pressure on Bobby Firmino is Diogo Jota. And I've got to say, when I heard that signing was happening, and we didn't have a sniff beforehand, there was no links, there was no Liverpool fan channels or media talking about it, but it was one of those signings, Corey, when I heard that we were making it, it just made sense. You could see how he fits into Klopp's system. What would be your take on that? I
thought it was a really astute signing, and I tweeted at the time, I said it's a lot of money, but it's the right signing. And obviously Liverpool have been really clever with their transfer business, and I like Jota a lot. I mean, he can play on that left-hand side at times, he can play central. I think the difference between him and Firmino is he's got that raw pace and that directness where he can get in behind. And if you drop Firmino into that 10 role, you've got 4 attackers really, plus Trent and Robbo pushing on. It becomes a nightmare, and it's clever to see Klopp's business, particularly with the signings of Thiago and Jota. Yes, Liverpool can still be effective with the players that they had last season, but these players just add a little different look and a different angle. And we'll probably talk about Thiago, but for me, unbelievably defensively, that gets massively written off. But the minute he plays in that final third, particularly see against Everton with that pass, I think it was to Mane, it's unbelievable. So there are players that they've just got that little attribute that make Liverpool a little bit better. And I think that's the sign of champions, where you can make those little adjustments and all of a sudden you've got different game plans and you can beat teams. You're going to need it against West Ham in particular.
Yeah, one of the things about Klopp, and it can be frustrating at times, is he's a manager who likes the players to solve problems on the pitch. He speaks about this quite often. So we'll often see a half-time, I'll be screaming for changes to be made. But Klopp's the type of manager who will go in at half-time, give the lads the ideas he wants, show them the clips, talk with the coach and staff, and give them 10, 15, 20 minutes to sort it out in the second half. And usually, to his credit, the players respond to that. So I'm intrigued for this game as much as you are, but I want to touch on your side of it now. I want to give you an opportunity to let us know what you're expecting from West Ham, maybe what type of starting 11 you're going to go with. And of course, we'll move on to predictions. And if anybody in the chat has questions that they'd like to put to Corey or myself before we finish up this part of the show, please get them ready. I'll ask you for them later on. But for you, mate, what are you expecting from West Ham? How are you expecting them to line up?
I think it'll be the same team against Manchester City. David Moyes loves to play a winning side or a side that's at least performing, and we really haven't changed the side at all, probably since the Arsenal game. So obviously we'll start Fabianski in goal, made a great save against Manchester City and Sterling, which doesn't get enough credit because everyone said City had an off day, but I thought West Ham was superb. We'll probably line up with a back three. So you see Creswell on that left-hand side, or Bonner down the middle, Balbuena on the right. We do play with wing-backs, and they do tuck in. So you'll see Soufal on the right, Masuaku on the left. But when we go forward, they really go forward. They'll get into that final third. If there's space behind Trent and Robbo, they will try and expose it at least. You've then kind of got that double pivot in Rice and Souček. Now, this is where, for me, the game will be won and lost. I think against Liverpool, we're going to have to be disciplined. If you've got a three-man midfield, you're going to come onto us. They're going to have to just sit in front of that back three and kind of support them. But equally, in a couple of games, particularly against Tottenham and Leicester, they've got some real athleticism, Rice and Souček. They'll bomb on and they'll push. Souček's late runs into the box, by the way, and this is something to look out for with you with your back four. You won't see him coming. He'll go to the second ball. He'll create a chance out of nothing. He's so dangerous. If West Ham can push up a little bit, I expect him to cause some problems. And then you've got the forward three, which for me have been the most impressive thing about West Ham. I mean, Pablo Fornals, he's like Marmite with some of our fans. You either rate him or you don't. He's kind of like, he's a 10 that shouldn't really be playing on the left-hand side. But when we tend to counter, he comes a bit central, and his final pass is absolutely superb. Against Leicester, he was phenomenal. His work rate for an attacking player is superb as well, which is why he stays in that Moyes side. And particularly when Liverpool come onto us, we're going to play a 5-4-1. So he'll play on the left-hand side. You'll have Jarrod Bowen come to that sort of right-hand side as well. And for me, Jarrod is unbelievable. I think he's adding goals to his game now. His work rate defensively, offensively, I think I've heard quite a few fans from other teams really rate him. He's fantastic. When he gets in on that left foot, his finishing's unbelievable. I expect him to cause some issues, particularly down that right-hand side. I think it'll be difficult against Robertson. I think he'll be told to kind of stick on him. And against City, Cancelo was bombing on. It'll be the same thing where it'll be hard for Bowen to kind of get out of his half and try and push on, but you're going to need his work rate. And then if Antonio starts, and I think this is where it really happens, I mean, he's gonna stretch that back too. Whoever they are, even if it was Van Dijk or Matip or Gomez, he's gonna stretch him. The most impressive thing about Antonio is he can hold the ball up and he can get him behind. He can link up play, particularly with Bowen and Fornals. And sometimes you'll see Fornals come off that left, come to a 10 quite quickly, and then you'll have Antonio on one side, Bowen on the other as central strikers. You kind of then can create a 2-on-2, or it's really impressive how they attack. But listen, Antonio's the perfect player in this game, because if you get the ball to him, he's going to take the pressure off. But you need to watch out, because I think Liverpool will be so accustomed to just bombing on, getting forward, having, you've got your full backs there. If you leave space in behind, all of a sudden West Ham are attacking with 4 or 5 players that you don't expect, and then you can expose that defence. I hope West Ham are brave in this game. I really do. It's going to be tough, and I said the same against Manchester City. I think if we're brave, we can create chances, but I can see us being under the cosh for a long, long time.
Yeah, it is a very interesting game, particularly with the timing of it. And you said you wanted to touch on Thiago. It's almost like we still haven't gotten a chance as Liverpool fans to see Thiago. We got 45 minutes against Chelsea, a 10-man Chelsea albeit, and he absolutely ran the show. So we're all sitting hoping and praying that we do see him in the starting 11 at the weekend, because to me, that signing, it was There's very few players, Corey, that I think, and you probably agree with me on this, I think our midfield's underrated, but there's very few players that Klopp could look at to bring in there and go, immediately, he's going to improve that team. He's going to give us a different dimension. And as opposition fans, I often hear that, we attack down the flanks or we use that Virgil van Dijk diagonal ball from the back. I think with Thiago there now, we'll see Liverpool playing a lot more through the centre. And again, this makes it very interesting for the weekend because you think the battle may be won and lost with Rice and Souček in that midfield.
Yeah, definitely. That's the problem with Thiago. I mean, I think we were talking about it just before, but the fact that he can play a defensive midfield role, but he has learned. He's such a pure football player, and he's so intelligent that he can pick up the right positions. And and when he gets into that final third, he's got that vision. He used to be a bit of a playmaker for Barca. Now all of a sudden he's kind of gone a little bit deeper, but he can play those roles. And I just think it's tough when you've got a player like that can keep the ball so well. And if he's in the right position and he breaks up play, West Ham are going to get frustrated, and and then we might get deeper and deeper, and all of a sudden we're not creating enough chances. But honestly, as a football player, it's just absolutely just a joy to watch, and I think that's a real astute signing. I think I've seen something saying the transfer fees in like £5 million instalments, which is absolutely unbelievable for a player of that quality in his prime. But obviously, he has had injury issues at Bayern Munich, so I mean, it's kind of a bit touch and go. Maybe that's the reason why he went so cheaply, but I think if you can get him for 20-25 games this season, he'll just make the difference.
Yeah, to me, I'm hoping he's available for the big occasions, so the Champions League latter stages, the big games like against City in the league and stuff. And you're right, it was 20 million over 4 years, 5 million a year, plus a potential 5 million in add-ons, which is just a remarkable way to do business. But it's a game that I would normally expect us to win quite handily, I'll be honest with you. At home, I always back Liverpool for the 3 points because, as you could probably know, we haven't been beaten at home in 60-something games at this point. It's a fortress at Anfield now, even without fans. But this really is a game that I'm frustrated by because we haven't got our strongest defence. I'm a little bit worried by because I was looking back through your results, and you are in a good run of form. That 3-0 down against Spurs, come back to 3-0, 1-1. And the one that stood out to me was the absolute battering of Leicester City. I mean, it must be a roller coaster for you guys at the minute. But before we get on to predictions and stuff, I just want to get a word on your manager, because it's fair to say that he divides opinion in the footballing world, David Moyes. And sometimes you look at him and you think he hasn't got a clue, but then you look at his relationship with the players, and that's, to me, where his main attribute is. He seems to be a very good manager.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a real positive squad morale, and even tactically, where I think a lot of West Ham fans have been frustrated, he seems to be getting the best out of the players. And I think we haven't seen Moyes in a consistent period at West Ham. He came in the first spell for 6 months, then he left. Pellegrini comes in, changes the squad, then he comes back. And he's always trying to sort of put players in positions and trying to get the right team. And I just feel like he's got the right players now. He's got Declan Rice that's matured. You bring Souček and Bowen, hard workers in. He's got the squad that he wants to work with. I do feel, though, he has kind of stumbled upon certain things. I think the Lanzini substitution was purely because Antonio had a dodgy hamstring. I think the only reason we're in a 3-4-3 is because I can't remember, someone got injured, but he had to change it up again. I think Diop was out with coronavirus, so he had to change it. So it feels like he stumbled across something. But definitely, like you say, like in terms of man management, they are playing for him, and that's a huge asset to have. And I think we've surprised a lot of teams this season because of the work rate. And ultimately, you've got to work for the team. You've got to work for the manager. And I think because they believe in him, they believe in the system. I think West Ham have grinding out results. 4-0 against Wolves, 3-0 against Leicester is super impressive. So, yeah, like fair play to him. As a West Ham fan, we come in, there's a lot of criticism. But now you've got to sit there and say he should really get a contract renewal at the end of the season.
There's a couple of things here. One funny one here from GD20. So he doesn't divide opinion on this channel. Obviously, being an ex,
I bet he doesn't.
Manchester United manager, Moisey footballing genius is what he's often called. But there's a question here for you from me. He said, Corey, how hard is it to always push on as a squad, knowing it's difficult to hold on to your best players when the so-called big clubs come a knocking?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there hasn't been too many people coming knocking for our players, and I think that was the first time that we've really seen that is this summer, if I'm honest. We had Grady Dean Garner, who was unbelievable in the Championship, comes up, was going to be our real asset, particularly on that left-hand side. You've got Declan Rice with Chelsea sniffing around. But I think there is a level of resolve, particularly with Declan, because he's such a prized asset. He's so good, he's English, he's young, he'll only improve. So, I mean, I think we can keep hold of him long enough. And I think as a club, we can get the right value for him. But listen, it's our ownership. And, they sold Grady Diangana relatively cheaply. And it's frustrating. And I think going forward, obviously, for us as West Ham fans, you look at our owners thinking these definitely aren't the right people. Because when you get into a position of players that other clubs actually rate, all of a sudden you're selling them for under the value. So it definitely is tough. But I think we're kind of fortunate now that we've slipped under the radar this summer. People weren't too interested in our players, and now we've got like a real decent collective, and we look to be pushing on.
Yeah, Karen Brady wasn't very popular with our fan base, obviously, towards the latter part of last season for obvious reasons. But you touched on the transfers there, and the question obviously was aimed at them as well. I want to get your opinion on the Mark Noble situation, because Mark Noble's Mr. West Ham. He came out and publicly spoke about the fact that he wants his club to push on, hold on to the best young talent. I thought that was a lovely thing to hear. And if I was a fan, that's exactly what I want to hear. But I'd love to get your take on it.
I completely agree. And I think I think it's driven by a lot of media outlets, if I'm honest. Like, they were trying to paint it in a picture that he was disrupting the squad and what he said was out of order. But as a West Ham fan, particularly with the way that we've been run over, the past few years, the stadium move, the poor investment in terms of recruitment and managers and things like that, it was the right thing to do, and it was the perfect thing to do, because as a fan base, it completely galvanised us. We see someone from the inside that loves the club, that is a fan as well, that stood up for us basically, against these employers, which is a huge statement to do. And listen, I love Mark Noble. I don't think I've seen Mark Noble not in a West Ham shirt since I've been supporting him. But even as the sort of playing side and his legs have gone a little bit and he's getting older, it's really, really positive to see him come out and make that statement. So listen, I think all West Ham fans in agreement massively backed him on that one. And it was just the right thing to do, mate.
Looking ahead to the game of the weekend on Saturday, let me get your score prediction first, and then we'll take a couple more questions before I let Corey go, and I'll finish up with the Liverpool news for the night then. Prediction for you, mate, for the score on Saturday?
I'm gonna go 1-1. I think, do you know what? I think we can really frustrate Liverpool. I think you'll be really frustrated as well when you see West Ham play. I expect us to create some chances. I expect them to take them as well. But I can't see Liverpool being dominant just because of the form and the injuries. Might edge it in the end with some of the players you've got, particularly in that final third. But I'm feeling relatively optimistic. I think we can get something. Fingers crossed.
I'm going to hold off giving my score prediction until I do my full preview tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. So sorry for sitting on the fence. I mean, a little shock. It will include a Liverpool win. I'll be open about that one. But looking ahead for the rest of the season, Corey, what's a good season for West Ham?
Oh, mate. I mean, to be fair, I thought we were going to be relegation candidates. So, I mean, I was kind of like maybe 16th, 17th is a good season. But, looking at the league as well was so open. And we've competed with a lot of teams, in that top half. I expect West Ham to be pushing top 10. I know that's a little bit optimistic after 5 games, but I just think, keep the same system, keep the same level of performance, get a few reinforcements in January. And it'd be great to get top 10, particularly with like the ownership and everything that's going on at the club at the moment. Just a bit of stability would be really welcomed.
What's your take on the ownership situation, if you don't mind me asking? Feel free to tell me to fuck off if you don't want to answer it.
No, not at all. I think it's kind of, as opposition fans, it's a bit sort of, you hear it in the background and the GSP out movement and things like that. But listen, they came in, 2010? I think they bought the club for 100 million. And they sort of strung us a bit of a lie about you'll move to the London Stadium and we'll become a top 6 club. And listen, it's all out there. They basically lied and they've put stuff out in the media. And, we got to that stadium. That was the first lie. We sold it. Can you imagine moving on from Anfield for a promise of something that never happened? It's that kind of, you lose your soul as a club. And I think opposition fans pick up on that as well. You've then got the poor recruitment strategy. There's no director of football. There's no scouting network. The training facilities, I know you've got your brand new ones that look fantastic. We've literally got porta cabins. It's just everything, mate. And it isn't that West Ham, expected to be top 6, but when you promise someone that, in exchange for losing your home, you kind of sort of take a chance on it. To do that to a football club is completely unforgivable, and it's not been seen in the top flight. Do you know what I mean? We talk about Mike Ashley being a bad owner. I know yourselves are quite bad owners before FSG come in, but it's unprecedented in terms of the way they are. I would say, though, given the lack of transfer spending this summer, it does look like they are going to sort of move off. I mean, I think we've seen the same with Burnley. Haven't spent a lot this summer. Now they've got the takeover. I'm hoping it it's a similar sign for West Ham. But listen, these guys are milking the club dry. They'll make 5 times the amount of money, particularly if they get that stadium. I mean, you're talking, they value it at 500, 600 million. So return on investment is huge. So it's frustrating. It really is frustrating. But listen, damage is done to that respect. So I mean, as a club, we've just got to get them out, get someone in that cares about the fans, and then we can kind of rebuild and build a little bit of that soul back up.
It's really difficult, isn't it, as fans, when you're looking at new potential owners, because there are some Liverpool fans, believe it or not, who still don't like our owners, despite the success they've brought to the club and the stability. But there's words from one of our old chief executive that keep coming back to my mind: be careful what you wish for in these scenarios, because it's a time now, mate, where there's no local boy done good comes and buys a Premier League club really anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's usually investment funds or maybe a sovereign state to come in. And from Liverpool, I've never wanted like a Qatari owner or a sugar daddy to come in and throw money at the club. I would have, if you could have offered me the way we've done it, I would have bitten your hand off. I really, really do like that way. But from what type of owners would you like to come into the club? Realistically now, would you like a Newcastle type takeover where somebody comes in, maybe a Chinese backed state business with unlimited resources, or would you like it to be somebody who tries to build for long-term sustainable success?
I think you've got kind of 2 examples. Obviously, you've got the Newcastle consortium that they were looking at. There is obviously, as a West Ham fan, if that opportunity came to us where we could start competing all of a sudden, it'd be unbelievable. And I do think we've got the fan base to match it as well. But you look at Leicester as a well-run club, and they're not massively rich. There is a lot of money there, but they're clever, they're smart, they respect the fans. We're on that kind of level where we want someone that cares about fans, that wants to build it up from that. And I think, listen, we're not a massive club. We are a big club, but we're not a Liverpool or Man United. We're not going to be competing for titles. But I just think a bit of progression, someone that's going to come in and build something over the course of a few years is what we want. So I wouldn't say no, do you know what I mean, to someone coming in and trying to buy Mbappe or whoever. Obviously not. But at the same time, it's so important, particularly after this ownership, that we get someone in that just respects the traditions. Just as I mentioned earlier with Grady, it wasn't about selling Grady as such. Maybe Ben Rama will be a better player, but West Ham to us is the Academy of Football. You lose someone like that, you're taking away that tradition, that soul. It just shouldn't happen. That's not how West Ham works. So listen, mate, I'll take anyone at this point. But I mean, we just don't know. We just hope that we get someone in, cares about the club, and we can kind of move on from this nightmare a bit.
One more question for you before we let you go, and this comes from Lace. He said, could you ask him how, or would he keep David Moyes as manager for the club in the long term, or sack him and look for a new manager?
That's a good question. That is a question that goes around West Ham all the time. And I think we need stability, if I'm honest. And when he wasn't getting the results, it's a poor appointment. We need to get rid of him. He can't prove it. But I don't know how he's done it. We've brought in Kevin Nolan. I feel we brought in Nevin from Brighton. We've brought a few coaches in that have we've got a really decent backroom staff, and all of a sudden it seems like West Ham are building something, and it would be wrong to sort of break that apart next season just for some ambition of trying to break into Europe. I think in the same vein, don't go and give him a 4-year deal. I think that's the wrong aspect as well, because I think Moyes has proven he's a good manager at Everton, and it was a long, long time ago, but going and giving him a 4-year deal is dangerous. Then you've got the idea that he could get quite complacent. Then what if West Ham, all of a sudden struggle? Listen, he's done well. If he keeps us stable for 2 seasons, for me that's a success anyway. He kept us up last time as well. But it's not as much the manager, it's the infrastructure of the club. If we had a director of football, scouting network, everything like that, you would say, well, why don't we go and get an Eddie Howe in? Or why don't we get someone that's unemployed and kind of bring him in that's going to build something? But just got to keep him around, mate. I think particularly he's really impressed me with this system. And if we finish top half, I don't think anyone is gonna want him to be sacked.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Corey is a football fan that knows what he is on about. Please do go over and check out the West Ham way. And Corey, before I let you go, mate, what have you got coming up? What can people look forward to over on the channel? By the way, there is a link in the description of the stream to Corey's channel. Please do go over and sub.
Yeah, I mean, do the preview, so there's loads of content. So I've got tactical breakdowns, predicted lineups, key danger men as well that's coming out tomorrow. So I'll have a few Liverpool players on there, particularly Bobby Firmino. Watchalongs on Saturdays. We've also got a show where we get different West Ham fans on to talk about key talking points. So if you ever want to pop over, you're more than welcome.
Mate, it's been a pleasure. I'm really glad that we got introduced actually over on All These TV. So shout out to Joe and the guys over there
Cool.
for connecting us. And look, hopefully, mate, we can get you on. I'm going to jump onto your channel for a bit of a reaction after the game as well, which I'm looking forward to. And look, ladies and gentlemen, I've really enjoyed having Corey on. I hope you guys have as well. I'm going to let you go, Corey, and I'm going to carry on chatting to the guys for a bit because there's a few David Alaba rumours and stuff that we need to address. But, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I wish you all the best after Saturday, mate. And Saturday, obviously, I hope that we get the 3 points. But, mate, you've changed my view of West Ham fans. I'm not going to lie to you. I was on the fence beforehand, but speaking to your good self, it's been a pleasure.
We're all right, mate. Listen, I wish you all the best. Fingers crossed we get something on Saturday. But it's going to be an interesting post-match reaction with me and yourself, depending on the result.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it, Corey. And look, ladies and gents, as I said, do go over and check out Corey's channel, The West Ham Way. There is a link in the description. He's on his way up. He's somebody that I think will have a long-term relationship going forward with in this channel because I enjoy chatting with the young man. Thank you so much, Corey. I'm going to let you go, buddy, and I'll talk to you soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye. Cheers, mate. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just you and I now for the rest of the stream. And again, a massive thank you to Corey for coming on. And so get your questions in. Connor wants me to make sure I talk about the David Alaba situation. And look, here's my take on it. Same as it was in the summer. If David Alaba is available for us to go out and try and get in January, yes, the wages may be high, and I've seen figures thrown around 250 to 300k. To me, that's the type of deal that we should be looking to get done if we can sort out the wages, because he is a player. We speak about versatility at Liverpool all the time. David Alaba is somebody who I mentioned with Thiago last summer before we brought Thiago in. 1 year left on his Bayern Munich contract. So far, it looks like he's holding off actually signing a new deal. I believe there was one offer to him, and somebody that can play at left back. We've seen him play in midfield. He can play at centre back, and versatility is a word that you hear me often say on this channel, and Jurgen Klopp does love him a bit of versatility. But I suppose the real question is there. You have to balance the high wages against maybe going out there and signing the likes of a Dayot Upamecano or an Ozan Kabak, who, by the way, I don't think that Liverpool are interested in, but will probably be a name that you see mentioned around and around again. And again, with Alaba, you're getting somebody there with a wealth of experience, both obviously at international level with Austria and the Bundesliga, Champions League as well. But there is the thing about fitness. Well, we have Thiago situation, and we've already got Joel Matip, of course, we brought in from Schalke previously on a free contract, who is a little bit injury prone, and that has come back to haunt us at times as well. So I'm very interested to see what you guys think about the links to David Alaba. Is that something you'd like to see Kloppo get done in January, even if it was something like a pre-contract agreement for him to come into the summer and maybe give the young lads an opportunity to come through? It is a real noodle scratcher for me, ladies and gentlemen, because I've looked at this and I didn't think we'd be as unlucky as we were. I didn't expect us to obviously lose the big man VVD. He's gone out and you think to yourself, right, Fabinho will drop in back there. How will we get on? Fabinho comes in, has a couple of games where we're thinking, we might just about get through this, We might, that risk of not bringing in another central defender may be okay. And then you see against Ajax, you see Reece Williams brought in, give it a few minutes, and you're thinking, okay, maybe. Then Fabinho picks up an injury. He's ruled out now. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it's a long-term injury. The latest on that one seems to be that he should be back, hopefully, after the international break. So he's going to miss the game against West Ham. He'll miss the game against Atalanta, and he'll miss the game against Manchester City, unfortunately. But he should be back then after the international break. This is a real head scratcher because I can't see Jurgen Klopp being a manager who goes out hastily to make a decision. He doesn't do a sticky plaster. He doesn't do a patch or he wants the players that he wants, and he's prepared to wait for them. We've seen that time and time again. We've seen that with Big Verge as well. And January is going to be very interesting to me because I can't see Liverpool going out and paying a massive premium for the likes of Upamecano. It would have to take something like a Michael Edwards masterclass there to go in and somehow almost tease out that 40 million buyout clause a little bit early. But again, if Leipzig are still in the Champions League, yes, they did get their asses handed to them by United last night, but it's still not out of this realms of possibility that they could get out of that group, albeit that, they'll have their fingers out. But then it all leads back to David Alaba, how I started this conversation. Is David Alaba worth maybe blocking the pathway through for a Reece Williams or a Billy Comedio or a Sepp van den Berg? And yes, it's a situation right now where we're seeing maybe Billy Comedio or Reece Williams, who seem to be the two at the front of the queue. I'm somebody that likes a youngster coming through, and I love the stories of looking back at Trent's breakthrough, and we've seen Neco breaking through. And let's be fair about this to Reece Williams. He hasn't been tested massively, but he also hasn't put a foot out of place from what I've seen. His aerial duels, he seems to be winning the majority of them as well, which is great. He's 6'3" in height. He knows how to fight. He will have come up against physical defenders. Let's not forget, he went down to Kidderminster, I think, and played non-league football, fought his way back up. He's going to be no shrinking violet, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we might view him as a 19-year-old young centre-back, but he has experience playing in non-league, and he's going to take a knocks there. And the manager spoke, the Kidderminster manager spoke about how confident Reece Williams was, not in an arrogant way, but he believed in his ability. And the other sounds here, and along with Billy Comedio, I'm almost leaning towards the fact that if Kloppo can go and get the defender he wants long term, if it's a Deo up a Meccano, if it's a Kabak, and whoever Kloppo wants, if he gets his number one target in January, go get him. That's what I would say. If the club can afford it, go and get him. But if he can't, is it worth taking the risk of bringing maybe Fabinho back and hoping he holds out and John Matip can get fit and Reece Williams? I would suggest yes, ladies and gentlemen. I would say that if we can't get Klopp's number one target in January, hang off and put trust in Billy Comedio, Reece Williams, because the manager seems to have trust in them. And if Jurgen Klopp has trust in these guys, then how could we not have trust in them? So, again, I'd love to know what you guys think about this one, especially the David Alaba rumours. I mean, a lot of people, as I touched on at the start of this segment, ruling out the David Alaba thing because of the 250, 300 grand wages. And I absolutely do understand that, because we do have a wage structure at the club, and it would potentially put a few noses at a joint if we brought somebody in who was our highest paid player. But you've Mohamed Salah there and Sadio Mane, Virgil van Dijk, Alisson, who have performed heroics at this football club, won a Premier League, a Champions League. It wouldn't feel right to me that they're on a lesser wage. So then what do? Do you go and re-improve all their contracts? Do you give Sadio another new deal? Do you give Mo a new deal? What do you do with Bobby Firmino? So these are the questions that we have to think about when we're talking about bringing in somebody on a free contract, because there's no such thing as a free deal. You know this yourselves. There's always agent fees involved and stuff like this. So again, if you're watching this back later on, please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. But right now, I want to go over to the live chat and see how you guys are feeling. Sarah Marshall said Sepp van den Berg. I don't think he's there just yet, Sarah. I think he's a little bit more improving to do. Played well recently in the win over Chelsea for the under-23s, I believe. But yeah, for me, in that game, actually, interestingly enough, Reece Williams played as a holding midfielder. So again, you can see the versatility we're talking about there that Kloppo loves. What else have we got? Right, here we go. Here's one on Alaba. Would bring in Alaba not make Tsimikas a bit redundant? It's a fair point, mate. It's a very fair point on that. Let me just get that one back off. Yeah, it's a fair point. We haven't even got a chance really to see Costa Tsimikas yet because of what's gone on, injuries and whatnot. And yeah, he was brought in to be back up to Robbo. So it's a good shout. And David Alaba can play at left back, can play at centre back, can play in midfield. Yeah, and another thing on Costa Tsimikas, by the way, he has played in a back three or a central back three in his days at Olympiacos as well. So at least to the best of my recollection, he has. So that could be something else. I mean, we also have Hendo, who, look, it's not ideal to have the captain playing at centre back, but he can't do it. You heard Corey talk about, even from an opposition's fan point of view, he can see what Henderson can do with his distribution from the back and that as well. So it's interesting. It's not where we want to be right now, but look, I'm expecting the club and the players to pull together and get through this little rough patch. Where was this other one? There we go. Robbo at centre back from Craig. Not for me, mate. And somebody pointed out in the chat, I didn't comment on it, but I did read it while I was talking with Corey there. Somebody said that Robbo's played at centre back for Scotland. I would still rather keep him at left back, to be fair, at least until Tsimikas is back, rather than risk him in the centre back position. We've got to manage our players through the sticky patch that we have right now. Again, though, let me know your thoughts on Alaba. Let me know if you're looking forward to seeing Thiago. And let me know your thoughts on anything. What centre-back you'd like in. And Nat Phillips. Yeah, there's another good point, mate. Nat Phillips can play at centre-back. Of course he can. Nat Phillips, what looked like he was going to move on in the summer. There was a couple of championship clubs. I think Bristol City were probably ahead of that queue there for him. And it didn't work out for whatever reason. Obviously, he was on loan at Stuttgart. But yeah, Nat Phillips is another option that could be used. I wouldn't be using them against West Ham at the weekend. Now, to be honest, my gut here would be to give the youngster a chance. I think Reece Williams, I don't see why not. Give him a chance. If it doesn't work out, we can drop Hendo back during the game if needs be. But I'd like to see him given a chance alongside Gomez myself. Get Colo back, said a United fan. Unfortunately, I did love a bit of Colo, Turbe, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. Tomori to come to Liverpool. Nah, you're all right on that one, mate. We'll pass there as well. Right, Base Face and Space said, Craig, thoughts on best backup for Salah? It's let me just get through and find this one so I can take it back down. Thoughts on best backup for Salah? It depends where we're talking about the backup for. Because if we're talking about this new system that Klopp is playing with a 4-2-1-3 or a 4-2-3-1, I like Mo through the centre in that system. So a backup for Mohamed Salah is going to have to be a number 9. But yeah, we know that Takumi Minamino can play there. We know that we've got Glatzel as well, who's coming back from a long-term injury in the underage system to keep an eye on. And Bobby can play through the centre, of course. Sadio can play through the centre. So I don't think we need cover in the striking position, if I'm being honest. We've got enough cover now. We've got, if you look at the attacking options we currently have at the club, obviously we've got Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Bobby Firmino, Diogo Jota, Takumi Minamino, Divock Origi, and Shaqiri. That's 7 options there for 3 places. And a couple of those like Shaqiri and Bobby Firmino and Takumi Minamino can play in an attacking midfield position as well as, of course, in an attacking position. Watching from Ghana, said Benji. Lovely, mate. Thanks so much for being with us. I really do appreciate it. I know there wasn't an Anfield Agenda stream last night, folks, but I hope that the guys that came over and watched their second channel, Mundo Sporto, enjoyed the coverage of the Juventus game against Barcelona. And just a heads up, the next time we're going to be doing a watch-along on Mundo Sporto, which is our second channel. We're really close to 2K, by the way, on there. I think we're about 150 subscribers away. So please do take a second to subscribe to our second channel. There's a link in the description, and I'm sure somebody will put it into the live chat now as well. If you haven't subscribed, we're going to be doing Leipzig's game against Paris Saint-Germain next week in the Champions League. That'll be the next watch-along on Mundo Sporto. Obviously, here on Anfield Agenda, I'll do a full preview of the West Ham game tomorrow, my predicted start and 11 and score predictions. We'll do a watch-along of the game on Saturday. You guys don't know, how do I phrase this? I have had to earn this watch-along at the weekend because Saturday being Halloween is one thing, but it's also 20 years to the day that I start dating my good lady wife now. So Saturday's a big day for us both. We're 20 years together. So massive thank you to my wife for allowing me. She always encourages and allows me to do these things. But again, my good lady wife for allowing me to do the watch along and the post-match show on Saturday, and then jumping on Corey's channel. And myself and Lucas are going to be doing a Daddy Lucas thing together, but that won't be broadcast, obviously. So again, shout out to the wife for being as understanding as she is. And she's told everyone to go over and make sure those sport down. Like, she never asks for that and fuss. You know what I mean? Seconds. There we go. I'm back in. Sorry, I disappeared there for a second, folks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Building a second channel up from scratch is going to be lots of fun. So we'd love your support over there as well. But right, let me get more of your congrats on 20 years, said Dave Smith. Same from Joanne. Really appreciate it. Yeah, camera was frozen there for a second, folks. Apologies, but I am back. So yeah, we'll mark the day in our own little way. We're not one for big gestures and stuff like that. But yeah, to be 20 years together is it's amazing. I'm very proud to be with that good lady for 20 years. Congrats on 20 years at Rakshid as well. Really appreciate that, mate. What have we got? Now got a 4-second. Thought it was City top. I almost logged off. No, it's just a Dublin GAA shirt, mate. Sorry. It's not my wedding anniversary, TTV Club. No, God, I'm not married 20 years. That would have mean I'm married 19. No, we're married. Shit, she's probably listening. I better get this right. 7 years. Yes, 7 years. Married 7 years, together 20. CG Gaming said, love the channel. Appreciate that, mate. Really do. Unfortunately, for any Irish League of Ireland viewers watching, Dundalk are 3-0 down as things stand against Arsenal. I've got that game on in the background. And thank you to Brian as well for the congratulations. Appreciate it. Right, ladies and gentlemen, any more questions, get them in. We're going to carry on for another 10 minutes or so. So whatever you want to talk about, the chat is yours. I've got, obviously, we're on StreamYard tonight, but I do have the chat open, the normal chat open as well, so I can take your comments from there. And again, shout out to our membership. If you want to become a member of Anfield Agenda FC, please do hit that join button. Membership's $4.99 a month. You get all the custom emojis. You get into the Discord group, which actually is, the place we share the innermost secrets of the channel. Lots of exciting stuff coming up, by the way. We've been doing giveaways galore recently, and we've got some more of them coming up as well. It's a good time for the channel, and I'm very much enjoying it. I've had a shitty week or two, but I'm feeling back to myself bit by bit now as well. So again, thank you to everyone for the words of encouragement on that. What have we got? Trent was brilliant in the Champions League match, said Jake. Yes, he was, Jake. I'm not going to disagree with you. He put in a very good performance, a very mature performance in that what was a very frustrating game against Midtjylland, to be fair, particularly in the first half. But Trent certainly did play well. What have we got here? Ali Khan said, do you think Matip will be ready for Saturday? No, mate, he won't be, from everything that I've read and been told. The aim is to try and get Joe Matip available for the Manchester City game that's obviously coming up after the West Ham and Atalanta games before the international break. So that seems to be the goal. And then we'll have Fabinho back, obviously, after the international break. So hopefully the centre-back situation will start to resolve itself a little bit, and we'll get a bit more luck on the injury front. I've seen this one as well. What are your thoughts on Liverpool entering the race for Ryan Gravenberch and has had interest in Marcus Thuram? Yeah, I'd seen something in the Echo about the interest in Thuram before we got Jota from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And this young lad that you're speaking about, is he the 18-year-old or the 17-year-old kid from Ajax, who United are also linked with? Because I'll be honest, I don't know much about him, but I did read a link. So yeah, again, mate, I don't know much about him. Mark's renewed his membership, or he's come back in. Mark, welcome back to Anfield Agenda FC, buddy. Really appreciate that. Lovely to see you win. Would I sell Matip? Said Benjamin. Well, not now, mate. No, not in the January window. At the end of the season, maybe. Let's wait and see if he can stay injury free for a little bit. But yeah, I don't think we're in a position right now where we should be looking to offload any centre backs at the time being. But yeah, long term, you would assume in the age bracket he's in with his injury record, although he has signed a new contract recently enough, he probably will move on at some point. But the annoying thing with Matip is when he's available, he's a very composed centre back. I love the way he carries the ball forward. Obviously, he gives us some added security from an aerial point of view as well. So yeah, it's one of those frustrating ones, and we've had that over the years at Liverpool, haven't we? We've had some great defenders who, Fabio Aurelio springs to mind at left back as well. Rob Jones, obviously, whose career had ended too soon. It's frustrating at times when you've got that quality there and they just can't put together a run of games because of injuries. Do I follow GAA? Not really, Aidan, no. I just bought this because I live in Wexford, but I always like to remind myself where I'm from, that I'm from Dublin. So I like to walk around with my GAA shirt just to let people know I am a Dub. I'm proud to be a Dub. I'll always be a Dub. Ali Khan, another question, said, do you think Wijnaldum will stay at Liverpool? I tell you what, mate, that's a belter of a question and one that I'm torn on. I genuinely don't know the answer, mate. He'll stay for the season. I'm confident of that one. You'll see talk about Barcelona and stuff in January coming in from, but I can't see Jurgen Klopp selling him in January, if I'm being honest. Whether he gets or signs a new deal, that remains to be seen. But I am glad that it worked out that we brought Thiago in and kept Gini. I've mentioned that a few times on the channel. It's whatever Gini does. If he leaves at the end of the season, he should leave with his head held high. He would have fulfilled his contract at Liverpool. And when the player signs a contract, that's all you expect him to do. And he's been a model professional during his time here. So I hope he stays, mate. I do hope he agrees a new deal. But I'm a little bit pessimistic on it. And I know, again, I want to give a shout out to Brian on this, because Brian said to me a very, very long time ago that Wijnaldum won't sign the new deal. So I've got to give credit where it's due for stuff like that. Up the kingdom. There you go. We've got a Kerry fan in the house. Do you think Liverpool can still pull off having a Super League? Yeah, the interesting thing about that potential European Super League, and again, sorry, let me pull up the question so I can give credit to the person who asked it. Where are we? Sorry, I want to find the question so I can give credit. There you go. So Ali Khan again. Seem to be actually answering a lot of your questions tonight, mate. Sorry if anyone else feels I'm ignoring them. It's genuinely his pot luck. And the interesting thing about the European Super League, mate, is you've seen the Barcelona board resigned But when he was resigning, he made a point of letting it be known that Barcelona had agreed to join that European League. But then the president of La Liga came out and kind of nonsense that and said Barcelona would be basically not bankrupting themselves, but, you know, it would be a silly, silly move if they were to do so. So I think it's just about applying pressure to try and get the control that the Big Six want. That's what I see anyway. I have a couple of super chats to get through. Let me just get to them, pull them up. 1 second. Again, thank you so much for the super chats, guys. Stuff like this means the world to a small little channel like us. And by the way, that is weird. I still think of Anfield Agenda as a small little channel. I know some people look at us and go 55k, but I think, you know, I look at the United stands, the Redmen TVs, AF TVs. They're the big boys, and we're fighting our way up there. So I still appreciate all these small little gestures and stuff more than you'll ever know. Right, so here we go. Joel Morris, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He said, how likely do you think Liverpool will sign Sancho? As the weeks have gone on, less and less is my prediction on that one. I have a feeling that if we are to go out and make a big signing, I can't believe I'm even uttering these words because I've said no so many times, but I'm about to get on board the Mbappe train. Put it that way. That's where I see a big opportunity. I mean, again, you're talking about the wages. It's very, very unlikely, but I'm allowed to dream. I'm a football fan. You're probably talking similar money, which is mad because of Mbappe's contract situation. So the numbers that have been floating around for Kylian Mbappe have been around the 100 million mark with 1 year left on his contract, which is still an astronomical amount of money. But if he had 2-3 years left on his deal, you'd be talking 250, 300 million probably. So if we could sort something out for his wages, whether that be through maybe sponsorship with Nike or that investment from Billy Bean and Red Corp acquisition that could be coming through an FSG. I don't know, man. I'm starting to dream a little bit, but I think Sancho less and less as the weeks go by. His form hasn't been great, obviously, because the rumoured interest from United in the summer and stuff. Again, what do you think, though? I mean, Joel, I'd love to know your opinion on it. Right, let me get to John's comment here. Congratulations on 20 years, Craig. Thank you, John. I really appreciate that. You're always very kind with the super chats and stuff as well, mate. It's very much appreciated. What have you got? Mustafa said, I kind of see us selling Firmino, maybe signing Haaland or Sancho and play Salah down the centre, Sancho on the right. I can understand where you're coming from, buddy. And again, I would absolutely love Haaland at Liverpool Football Club. Any club in Europe would love that young man. And he's going to have his pick of top clubs. And hopefully, we're going to be in that conversation. One of the front three, and I've said this consistently, I've always felt will leave next summer. I've no idea who that would be. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, that could be what potentially funds the next big player, the next superstar that could come to Liverpool. And it's not what we like to hear as fans, but it is a good, sustainable business model. Bring players in, have 4 or 5 years of them in their prime, and then just as they're getting to that tipping point, be ruthless as a club and move them on and then look to rebuild Klopp's second side. It's not palatable, if we're being honest about it. We want these players to stay forever, but unfortunately, it's probably realistic that one of the front three could move on, in my opinion. And it is just that. It's just my opinion. Brian says, next stop, Madrid for the Mbappe train. I mean, if I was putting money on it, Brian, I'd probably say that you're right. But again, we can't really underestimate the financial troubles of Barcelona and Real Madrid right now. They're severe. So, you know, they'd have to move on a lot of players and free up a lot of wages to be able to afford getting Mbappe in. Obviously, there is that link there with Kylian Mbappe and Zinedine Zidane, obviously both French internationals, both World Cup winners, which almost sounds ludicrous to say when you're talking about somebody that young in Mbappe already. What else is there? Do I think Gerrard will manage Liverpool? Where's this one? United fan. Do you think Gerrard will manage Liverpool? Oh, extra points there, by the way, mate, for the WWE image. Right, where are we going? Sorry, let me get back. Oh, that one. Do I think Gerrard will manage Liverpool? Sorry, I'm distracted by Randy Orton now. All I can think of are RKOs. But yes, someday. But he has to earn it. He shouldn't just be given the reins at Liverpool because his name's Steven Gerrard. If he goes and wins the SPL this season with Rangers, if he continues to have at least decent run in Europe with them, I'd still like to see him go manage another bigger side before he came to Liverpool, whether that be to maybe go into Europe and manage somewhere then come to Liverpool. But for the Liverpool next manager's gig, I mean, my mind at the minute is having Pep Linders. I think a lot of Liverpool fans know about Pep Linders and what a quality coach he is and how highly he's thought of. But outside of the club, many people will probably be really surprised to hear us talking about Pep Linders in such glowing terms. But to me, if I was betting right now, I'd be sticking to the kind of boot room philosophy of Pep Linders again. Joel Morris, thank you, mate, for another super chat. Said, still don't understand why United signed Van de Beek. If Liverpool signed him, he'd be playing regular games. I mean, I think that's a gripe. There's the super chat again there, just to bring it up on screen. And that's a bit of a gripe amongst United fans at the minute. A few of them confused as to why he hasn't been playing. I think even somebody, whether it be an ex-Ajax player or a Dutch player, came out recently and said that he thinks it was the wrong move for him. I don't know. I mean, that remains to be seen. I've always said, and I'll stick by it, Donny van de Beek's a very good young footballer who, you know, any club that got him, we're getting a good midfielder. So I give credit to United on that begrudgingly. It is a good signing. And look, whether Solskjaer gets the best out of him or not, that's really not Liverpool's problem. Obviously, we hope that he fails miserably and United fail miserably. But United fans are starting to believe again in their side. You're starting to see a bit more optimism from them, even though their league position still, you know, leaves a lot to be desired. I know they've played a game less. I do understand that, but you can understand why United fans are a little bit happier with life now. Obviously, after 2 good wins in the Champions League, let's wait and see what happens. I'm more concerned about Liverpool than I am United. The manager said Hayden. I say absolutely not to that one, mate. I mean, as great as he was as a player, no thank you as a manager. What have we got? A question here. Hi, Craig. Do you think Williams will be too young for a run in the first team? No, I don't, mate. What I've seen of Reece Williams, he hasn't put a foot wrong. Of course, it's a massive jump up. It's a big ask to come in and maybe Mark Antonio or somebody like that, a very physical player and at 19 years of age, Reece Williams wouldn't have probably, you know, finished filling out as an adult man. But he looks quality and he looks assured and he looks calm. So why not give him an opportunity? We can always alter it if it's not working out. But I mean, for me, I'd give him the chance, yeah. Somebody asked again, is Van Dijk, or no, sorry, where was this one? Sorry, just this one. There we go. Myro said, is Fabinho injured for a long period of time? No, mate. The good news is that he should miss just 3 games for us. So he's going to miss the West Ham game, he's going to miss the Atalanta game in the Champions League, and he's going to miss, unfortunately, the Manchester City game. But, you know, it could have been worse. So fingers crossed that is the correct. That's what's going around in the media anyway. So fingers crossed that that's right, and we see him back after the international break. I can't believe we're talking about another damn international break. Ladies and gentlemen, look, I'm going to call that one a night. I'll be back tomorrow with a full preview ahead of the West Ham game, back with the green screen behind me. We'll be taking you through my predicted 11 score predictions and stuff like that as well. If you have enjoyed the stream, please do hit the subscribe button, drop a like on the video, but also do me one massive, massive favor, folks. Please do go over and sub to our second channel, Mundo Sporto. I'd really love us to hit 2K on there before we do the next stream. I mean, it just takes another 130 or so people to go over. There's a link in the description. Massive shout out to my wife again, as I said, for letting me do the Watchalong on Saturday. But most importantly, I hope that you're all well. I hope that you're all safe. Once again, I really appreciate your time coming on, spending it with me tonight. Wherever you are in the world, be safe, stay well. Shout out to Corey as well earlier on from the West Ham way for coming on. But look, I will talk to you, legend, soon. Up the Reds. I will lots of love. Don't know what else to say tonight, folks. I could waffle on for another 2 hours, but I'm going to go spend a little bit more time with the family. So lots of love to you all, and we'll chat soon.